Greetings. Welcome back to the letter, people. I know, you guys love to hear it whenever I say that. Well, I'm always happy to play this game. I actually am, chat. Let's get right into it. No need for a long intro today. Let's do it. Let's get right down to the beans. Shush, darling, let the man speak.
I'm sure it isn't anything like that if he has to come all the way here, yes?
It's about yesterday. The photos you asked, I mean. The copies are ready, but...
Man says I'm about to fish the prints out of my pocket. A short second passes that which strikes me how I didn't think this through at all. How I'll go about telling her regarding the strange photos or revealing this to her in the presence of another person. Her husband gazing over us like a hawk doesn't provide any sort of comfort either. And just like that, all the words I had been practicing to say they were inevitably fall stiffly out of my mouth. Miss Wright must have noticed my hesitance because shortly she gives her husband an arm, a gentle squeeze, a tender smile gracing her face. Unlike the first, this one is meant to appease.
Love, I think Hansi might need some of your input for the final guest list. Could you check on him, please?
Bollocks! Why in all Luxborn do I have to be there? Doing tedious jobs are what he's being paid for.
Because if we end up with people whose faces you do not want to show up in our housewarming party, we won't be hearing the end of it. Unless a heavy dose of liquor's involved. You know what the doctor said about that. Please do poor Hansi and your liver a favor,
He can handle that on his own, Buttercup. And my liver is doing just fine.
I'm sure it is. But I don't know, love. I think I caught a glimpse of the name Mitch Lakes, was it? I think it was Mitch Lakes on it when I checked with Hansi earlier.
Oh, I don't know who that is, but I think there's something there. I think I should be quite worried, actually. What does that mean, chat? What is Mitch Lakes? What is Mitch Lakes, chat? You all know? Is this gonna be a story in the story later? Story in the story. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think there's something. I think maybe I've heard that before. I don't know.
You should see for yourself. It was quite a list.
Who put that blighted twat in there?
And that's why I'm asking you to look over it before I do so tonight.
Very well.
Even with that promise, he doesn't appear ready to leave. Short of passing through their doors, he stops and glances back at me, all without bothering to hide the distrust in his eyes.
Luke, dear, I'll be fine. Go back to your butler. I'm not some pregnant wife you have to worry about.
Fine. I have to go to that little ankle biter's career day later anyway. I don't see why I have to go there. Kylie's your goddaughter.
And yet she had you around her little fingers, darling. That's basically the same thing.
If he ever has an answer to that, we don't get to hear it above the heavy thud the door makes. And Miss Wright's own weary exhale after she's sure her husband is out of earshot. She's nothing but apologetic when she fixes her gaze back to me, and I can't help but return the same to her.
I am so sorry you had to deal with that. My husband can be a bit trying when he really applied himself.
It's fine, Miss Wright. No harm done. It was my fault for showing up here unannounced. And this might be strange coming from me, but he does have the right to be wary. The press can be quite vicious when it wants to be.
Cotton and Spendley, they'll pick you apart. It's not surprising why he acted the way he did around me.
Sweetie, if Luke treats every journalist who shows up here like that, I'm afraid we'll end up with a harassment lawsuit hanging over our heads sometime in the future.
Yeah, honestly, bro. No, it's not gonna make y'all look good, honestly. The way he treats the press, god damn.
Vicious or not, some sort of finesse has to be exercised when dealing with them. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't too offensive.
Not at all, Miss Wright. Besides, I don't think an interior design magazine would be interested in who harassed who this week. Unless it has something to do with fighting over tastefully arranged furniture. But even then, I don't think our readers will be too interested.
Oh, dearie. You've got a lot to learn. You really have no idea how a single tattle can ignite a spark in a crowd. Of course, at the end of the day, it's still the thought that counts. It's still a lovely anniversary gift from my husband. No matter. Let's just go.
She doesn't wait for an answer and immediately wanders over a car parked some distance from us. I'm sure I find myself trailing after her. A chauffeur automatically opens the passenger side door as she nears, and she gestures for me to follow when she climbs into the back seat.
So, where are we going exactly?
I need to get out of this stuffy house for a while. Moving in, planning the party. It's starting to get suffocating in there. Luke and Hansi can have their fun while I'm gone. I don't care. I'm getting out because I can. Another minute in there and I'll drown.
My bike.
There are, of course, a lot of things questionable about her invitation. Why she's asking a person she has only known for less than 2 days in the first place is one. How appropriate this is, being another. But the rest of it crashes the moment she shoots me an imploring look.
Please. I can have someone send it back to your address later. And it's just a trip to the city for some furniture. Nothing more, I assure you. Marianne will be with us, and maybe you can tell me why you're here on the way.
Guess it wouldn't hurt. I might have to leave early, though.
Excellent, then. Hop in. That's what they often say, yes?
This can't be a good idea, but I really don't have any other choice, do I? Especially with the way her eyes light up when I agreed to it. In my pocket, the very picture of her remains faceless. A voiceless shadow hanging threateningly between us, unknowing to her. If someone told me I'd be spending my entire morning being dragged around half of downtown Luxbourne looking for furniture, I probably would have simply smiled at them. And then perhaps even given them a good friendly pat on the shoulder and wished them a nice day. Not that I find anything wrong with this at all. On the contrary, this is most definitely a nice change of pace. After weeks of getting bogged down by several freelance gigs and shutting myself inside my apartment whenever I can. Brr Realty Corporation. If only the weather would be a whole lot nicer. The kind with less sunny clouds, perhaps. With the mid-morning sun slowly beating down on us as high noon approaches. I can see why Mr. Wright skipped out on this trip. The bright side is the only thing that seems to have put Miss Wright in a less somber mood. At the fifth store, her pace is considerably livelier, her gestures less guarded than the one she displayed at the mansion earlier. The presence of another person might have helped as well. Although Miss McCullough seems less predisposed to small talk. Preferring to keep herself most of the time and keep to herself most of the time and let Miss Wright lead us wherever. She did acknowledge me with a small nod when we were introduced earlier. That didn't make standing outside the store together any less awkward while we wait for our client to finish her inquiry inside.
So, interior design, huh?
She gives me a sidelong glance before returning to her notes again, her pen scratching faintly against the paper in quick successive strokes. There goes that. I did say I'm not good at starting or keeping conversations going, didn't I? She doesn't look back up again. I'd take that as my cue to stop any attempt to striking a dialogue with her and keep myself occupied with some other thing. Except what we have here is just Luxbourne and its busy streets, people going about their day like normal, cars moving in no sight, heading to who knows where. Nothing remarkable, really. The ease with which a person can fade into the background here is reflective of the kind of city Luxbourne will always be. With the humdrum's one thing I learned to live with. Needless to say, it doesn't usually stay that way. There are times when it would come alive, make itself known, and reassert itself back to the world. However, these moments are few and far in between. And then again, with what graces the news channels lately, I'm starting to think it's going to happen sooner. Can't say I'm looking forward to what it'll bring.
Luxury living, is it?
Her voice effectively cuts through my thoughts just as I count the 13th passerby wearing a hat today. Beside me, I can hear the faint rustling of paper and the clicking of her pen as she stashes them back to her bag.
Excuse me, what?
The magazine you're working for. It's Luxury Living, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You've been featured by them before, I take it?
A few years back, yes. For just some issues. My designs still appear from time to time, though not as frequent as before. Gotta have room for new talents, right?
I may not show it in her face, but the pride is evident in her
Good
voice.
folks, the people running the publication. Tell me, is DK still on the editorial team?
I wouldn't know. I've only started taking jobs from them this year. Freelancer, you know.
Good man, that guy. Anyone in our field should meet him. He had a lot of things to say about art, all of them relevant. Learned a lot from him, actually, even if we both came from two different fields. I hope he's in a good place. I haven't talked to him in a while. Anyway, your portfolio must have been good if they gave you the job. They don't easily assign big features to freelancers like this.
I wouldn't say I am, but experience, you know? The more you practice it, the more you learn the tricks of the trade. That kind of stuff.
I know what you mean. Still, you've got to keep up with the competition. Each year, a new talent emerges, and, well, you never know. Clients can be a bit fickle-minded with their choices. Believe me. Speaking of, do you think you'd be up for a new client after this?
I think so. Depends on how big the project is.
She reaches into her bag again. This time to pull out a business card, which she hands over to me.
When you're free, send your portfolio to Chris. He's my assistant. He's been looking for a decent photographer to help with updating the studio's portfolio. Nothing urgent, but the sooner the better.
Not sure if I'll have the time to squeeze this in. But, alright, I'll give it a go once.
Marianne, could you look this over for me?
At the very moment, Miss Wright emerges from the store. When I look back to Miss McCullough, a mask of professionalism has returned to her. Or at least is what it is trying to be. There's a different light in her eyes as she faces her. A flicker of familiarity and recognition. I'd say it's fondness, but that would be too presumptuous. Whatever it is doesn't last and is briskly swept under the firm tone her voice assumes.
Definitely. Is there a problem?
They said they don't have the colours you suggested. Do you think we can change it around for a bit? It might take a while if we insist what we want, and you know I'd rather not worry about this later.
I think it'd be better if I handle this one myself. Excuse me.
She walks into the shop without another word, leaving the two of us standing outside. As soon as she's out of earshot, however, Miss Wright lets out a giggle and swipes the business card cleanly off my hand. She smiles, a bemused little thing spreading across her face, and waves the card in front of me. I wish she'll do that more often, the smiling thing. It suits her more than the other one she frequently shows to the media.
I look away, and the next thing I know, you're picking up women. On the streets, while the sun is high, no less. I'm not sure if I should be appalled or amazed. Whatever happened to the Zach I met a day ago? About as tall as you. Photographer. Quite the gentleman. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit disappointed he's gone.
It ain't like that, Miss Wright. And I'm sure Miss McCullough is not the kind of woman to let herself be picked up by strangers, let alone people she barely knows.
Oh, shush. Let me have my fun. And didn't I say you can call me Hannah? This right after you introduced yourself as my friend in front of my husband. I do believe this isn't how friends address each other. Too formal, don't you think?
Yeah. She gives the card back to me nevertheless, and with it, her mood fades into a more pensive one. An odd look settles on her face, yarning, a bit wistful, as she looks back towards the shop's display window. Nothing remotely interested in it for me when I follow her line of sight, though. A few trinkles here or there, a fur rug, wooden side table, lamp, all tastefully picked and arranged to resemble a typical antique living room. On second thought, it does look comfortable. But why they added a crib beside it baffles me. Unless, of course, the people they're hoping to market to are those who already have children or are about to have one. Peculiar chances of decorations aside, it does make for a nice icebreaker. It's not on the same level of weird and completely out of the blue. It still leagues better than the awkward signs, which is definitely too out of character for a personality like Miss Hana's. How should I start the conversation? I think that one looks cute.
Oh, I think that one looks cute.
Hana balks, to my surprise, shuffling 2 steps away from the window and glares at it with such a vehemence as if it did something remotely scandalous. A funny sight when taken out of context, and I probably will be laughing, really, if I understand what warranted such reaction from her.
I wasn't looking at the crib.
I wasn't really talking about the crib, Hana.
Very good then. But it wasn't the crib, all right.
Alright, I get you. But that's not it. Honest. I was just saying the stuff that was on display there looks nice. Or at least as nice that it can be compared to the ones we visited earlier. But I'm sure your interior designer has something different in mind for your mansion, so don't mind me.
I was hoping that would be enough to cut the topic short. Instead, she sighs, leans on the wall closest to her, and runs her hands through the lock of her hair. There's a far-flung look in her eyes even as she fixes it on the concrete curb.
You need to stop looking at people like that, sweetie.
I'm afraid I don't quite catch your drift, ma'am.
I suppose you wouldn't be aware of it. Do you know you always carry this kind of phase? Like you're always staring at the world with this honest look. Like all there is to see is all the good in it.
Frankly, I don't see anything wrong if it's like that. I mean, there always has to be something in it. You know, a sprinkle of kindness here and there. Otherwise, we'd all be miserable.
For you, maybe. Some people have to fight through it just to see that.
True.
And kindness isn't always a great thing to have around. Sometimes too much of it can hurt.
True. It makes you wonder where this would come from, how bad things have really gone for her to have this view. Bad with her husband. Bro, bad. Write the journal. Write a journal. Write a journal. Write a journal. You become the next. You write a whole magazine. In the newspapers. Hana Wright and Luke Wright divorced. Luke Wright affairs. Hana Wright's dead. I don't understand her sentiment, really, I do. Still, when it's the last thing you can cling to when things have gone irreversibly bad, sometimes you simply don't get to make a choice.
Besides, the point is, it's impossible to lie when a person is looking at you like that.
Well, that's how she looks. That's how he looks. I don't know why I just burped so loud. Damn.
Or I could, but I'd feel like a horrible person afterwards.
Well, then don't lie.
Did you hear that, Mr. Zack? You just made me feel like a horrible person. I sort of wish I had one like it. Just so people would stop lying to my face.
Or you start by being honest with yourself. It shouldn't be quite hard. Friends don't lie to each other, don't they?
I guess so.
So what was the lie?
She draws a breath, lays a soothing hard hand to her stomach.
But it was really the crib I was looking at earlier, silly. You're right, Uncle Zack. It's cute, but the pattern's not to my taste. I'm pretty sure Marianne could do something about that, though. At the moment, what I should really be worried about is if I'm ever going to be a good mother to this child. Mad! I can't even tell the father he's going to be one in a few months' time. Probably doesn't even want anything to do with this whole pregnancy thing. What am I going to do, Zack? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
Oh, God, wait, she's pregnant?
Oh!
The realization strikes me like a tons of bricks bearing down on me. More than astonishment must have shown in my face because Hana lets out a chuckle The slump on her shoulder disappears altogether underneath her
Don't
mouth.
look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
She brandishes her hand in front of me, the unamusing silver band on her finger, glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. She eyes it lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the trace of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there's an entire story here. I'd ask, but that'd be too inappropriate even for friends. It's not my place to meddle to begin
Or
with.
at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
Of course. I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now. But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model.
That's crazy.
I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well?
I don't know. The baby will grow up to marry someone just as bad as Luke.
Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that. That's what it's called, right? First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then. He even called me in the middle of the night. Has to switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one cranky pregnant lady. Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Wright to decide, yeah?
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea's brought up.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
Nuh-uh.
And if he says no?
Well, then he'll die.
You haven't even told him yet. Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course, but there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
Yeah. Like, why is his mom blue?
A wrecking ball would be nice.
What? Laughter escaped me before I could stop it, and for a moment I thought I had done something wrong when she doesn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jests or complaints she hurls about him, behind the media's eyes or in the presence of people she trusts. When she does, her chuckle is a small, hesitant sound at first. I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom.
Yeah.
Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
If my opinion matters, though.
A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes fill with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear for all the doubt she unwillingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it should come from me. I'll be damned.
I think you'll be a great mother, Hana.
If she has an answer to that, I don't get to hear it, nor does she get to say it. Susan takes out of my mouth, the bell hanging over the antique store door chimes and comes out Miss McCullough. For more than one reason, I've never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early. I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you.
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needs to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud.
Be proud.
I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course. I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd better be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur le Photographe. You better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
I blink at her confused. That's the chick I have nothing settled on my plate tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts still cloth my mind like walking on personal projects. Well, the expectant is lesson on harmless flesh alone. I wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion. With all the paperwork and the loops I has to go through. Well, now the Hal is I'm sorry, standing in front of me. It's one giant ball of persuasion in human form. However, I don't try to go around life. All of them have been dispelled right this instant. Hana hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet. Deadlines, real life happenings, they can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard. Just promise me you'll show up. I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food. Of course I'll be there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this. You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
There is a short while in which her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Her smile, as she does so, a tender thing in itself. She might never let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved even when he or she has yet to have a sense of the world. Candid moments like this I wish I had bought a camera for.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
Yeah, I'm done with you. I'm done with you, Miss McCullough.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion. Don't worry, I'll have someone bring it to your home later.
Nah, I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact.
Why are we forgetting about the reason we met Hana today?
I only visited earlier because...
The photos. Damn, I've completely forgotten about them. My hand grazed the side of my pocket where I've kept them since this morning, and sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because? Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hana, earlier, at the mansion.
Sure.
I think it will be better if you take a look at these yourself.
Seeing is believing, right? I reach into my pocket and pull out the photos, handing everything to her. Recognition flickers across her eyes when she reaches for them, and I have a stamp down for the tiny twinge of regret in my stomach for having the gal to show it to her. Only cuts deeper the instant both her and Miss McCullough's expression changes. And it's not a good look. Let's say she's repulsed would be a total understatement. This time, Hana has been nothing but direct, saying what she feels, expressing what she wants. Away from the glamour and the camera lenses, she's a whole different person. But as she goes through each of the pictures, I can't get an easy read of her.
Zach, dearie, what is this?
Your photos. The ones you requested copies of. I mean, they came out that way, and I thought you should know.
Oh, I get it. You know, I've heard before that artists can be a bit weird. Have you ever gotten that kind of comment, Marianne?
Not in my line of work, I'm afraid. Or ever, Mrs. Wright. I'd rather keep my personal hobbies away from my actual work. Less stress that way.
Well, I suppose it just never crossed my mind that the saying applies to you as well, Zach. But talent's what's important, hmm? As long as you make good art, it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, that's... You see, when we had that photo shoot yesterday, there was something.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it. I did ask for copies, darling. But would it be possible for you to give me normal-looking ones? Preferably with my head intact. I admire the effort you took to edit this, though. It looks authentic. Frankly, if I show this to some other person, they'd probably believe those silly rumors about the mansion. Good publicity, but not the kind I'd want for my new home. So please.
She drops them back in my hands, like the very surface burned her.
If you could redo this, that would be wonderful. I'm positive you can do a better job than the one you just showed. Just try to keep the edits to a minimum,
Yeah. I can, sure.
You can take your time, of course. And speaking of time, I really must go.
She leaves without so much as a wave. I don't have to take a guess to know I've dismayed her, or in her words, weirded her out. Besides me, Miss McCullough shakes her head. What are the odds I've also ruined my chances with the job she offered earlier? Very high, I'd say. It's a foolish idea in the first place. Depart shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about a quick lunch before fetching Ruthiel from Chris. I don't know what or who Ruthiel is, but it must be important for her to be this kind of a hurry. Well, she doesn't seem to be fond of small talk, something we can both agree on. That sounds good, or a walk around the city maybe, but the sun as high as it is now, nah. And after how things with Miss Hana went, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. Or you could have just been honest and said they came out that way, literally, you don't know why. If I don't do anything with it now, I have this impression it will rear its ugly head again. By then, things may be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash, Rebecca? In all likelihood, they'll give me a pat in the back. See, man, go get some sleep. You're at it again from Ash. Talked to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up at my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There's one
Damn,
option, though.
I should have thought of that first.
Oh! The priest. Wait, isn't this literally the loading screen, chat? It turns out I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I want to identify myself as much. Or rather, I can't. So grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays have been spent attending service. It's simply that, as you get older, the more experiences you get forming your own beliefs on things become easier, for the lack of a better word. And at one point, it just stopped. That kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when the dreams won't stay where they should be. Talking does a bit. It also goes to a good thing for him as well. He's not completely the pious man you'd typically expect. My unlikely friendship only probably happened because he's the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he aptly puts. And he is surprising. It makes him easy to approach. Like that one time with Isabella. I don't think he believes in the ghost kind, but there he went. Maybe he has something to say about the photos as well. It won't hurt since I've already gone ahead and went to Anselm at daybreak on my bike. At the very least, I know I won't get shouted at by whoever answers the door.
Unless someone does that inside a church. I highly doubt it.
Despite its age, the church is a thing of wonder itself, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. One of the many gifts of the Ermengarde family donated to the community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head then. At this time of the day, the church was mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering their prayers under their breath. The candles and incense permit the air, giving the place a general feelings of reverence. Pretty welcoming all in all. Even so, I keep the noise my treads make to a minimum. Disturbing the quiet feels like a sin alone. An usher points me to pew in front of the altar when asked where Father Norman prays. He mentioned something about the good priest not being in good health. Ever since he did a favor for a friend to bless an old house. This is the first time in days he's left his room. No surprise there with the weird heat lately. Even Rebecca caught something. Yo, we're cooked. The priest is seeing shit now. Nervous little chap, the kid, nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais. With a reminder not to stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me, and I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, to say surprised is an understatement.
Stay away!
His voice comes out a whisper, almost inaudible in a hush. Quite restrained. I'm taking these headphones off, bro. Stop. I hate you. I hate you. I hate that noise. His voice comes out in a whisper, almost inaudible in a hush. A quiet restraint and deference to both. By the way, I still have one earphone on. I still have one of the earphones on. Yeah. Quiet restraint and deference to where we both are standing. But the tremor is there. Raised on me with wide bulging eyes. Could be some sweat appearing on his forehead despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman?
Keep your distance!
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away, don't come near me!
It might be the fever. It must be the fever talking or whatever he caught. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything to drive me away like this. All the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of beliefs or status in life. For words acting the threat to come out of him, it's simply beyond him.
Go back to where you came from! Leave!
Father, what did I do?
Leave! Now!
He set a hand to his shoulder meant to be reassuring. When he recoils, his ankle catching on the ends of the days as he backs away. His shout when I attempt to reach out again echoes through the entire hall, catching the attention of a few people inside. I try to keep a level tone, but with these strangers' eyes trained on us, panic starts to weave its way in.
Stay away, demon! Go back to the hell you came from!
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
In my pocket, I fish out the photos and try to hand it to him. The say strikes my wrist today, almost like an accusation. I sense the photograph clustering uselessly to the floor. Helpless, I can only watch as he curls into himself on the ground. A sad, blubbering mess whimpering to himself. He takes his head forward and begins walking, his hands clapped over his ears.
That accursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. I can't sleep. I can't eat everywhere I look. Go away, go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon.
I am actually, I feel bad. What? Okay.
Lord have mercy, God our Lord, King of ages, all-powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
A number of people have moved closer, mostly just to gawk. Thankfully, as if to save him from being an utter spectacle, two ushers came out, taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. I can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing, a firm little notion that clings, eats, and consumes you. I can still hear his prayers even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people. Then under the protection of your authority may we sing in gratitude.
The ring comes to me as I am left to pick up the pieces of this chaos. Back to square one we go. And if there is salvation in this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the nighty sky by the time I might make it back home, and that I'm gonna make it back home. Chat, that's where we're ending this video off, and to say that I am surprised would be a understatement. Yeah, we're good. We're good, chat. Right? We're good. Load game. We're good. I'll see you all next time. Bye. Just bye, bro. That's a this is crazy. Honestly, I think we'll get Miss Hana's attention eventually. Bye.